am so excited for you to watch this video today because I'm sharing something I'm still working on myself, and that's editing. Self-editing is hard. It's like, do I leave that in or take it out? Does it mess with the flow? Does this make sense? Does this transition smoothly? Am I saying enough? Am I saying too much? Anyway, hi, I'm Brittany, and I love film and I love copy, and it's a good thing because so much of the storytelling in film can be information for how you write copy that connects with your customer. Today's inspiration for editing your own copy is by Academy Award-winning editor and author Walter Murch. In his book, In the Blink of an Eye, Murch shares a hierarchy of criteria called the Rule of Six for making the ideal cut. They are, first, emotion, which is the most important thing for your audience to experience. Then there's advancing the story. Next is rhythm. Then there's eye trace, but let's translate that to your H1 through H3 headers and use of capitalization, bold, italic, and underline words for your audience's attention on the page or platform. Next is the two-dimensional plane of the screen, which Murch has a set of rules inside of those rules, but we are not going to get into that today. Instead, we'll consider it to be the transitions and your audience's information processing or awareness. And finally, three-dimensional action, which is the physical spatial continuity. Again, for the sake of writing, we'll consider this to be where words are physically on the page or platform. To demonstrate his framework, I'm examining what I now realize is a favorite movie of mine, Whiplash by Damien Chazelle, which won editor Tom Cross an Academy Award for Best Editing in 2015. Whiplash has some really defining moments to answer the question of how far you're willing to go for perfection. It follows the protagonist, Andrew Neiman, on his journey at the prestigious Schaefer Conservatory to be one of the greatest jazz drummers ever, say that 3 times in a row, like his idol Buddy Rich. However, Neiman is pushed to the brink time and time again by an abusive composer, Terrence Fletcher, whose mission is to find and unveil the next greatest jazz musician, no matter who it destroys in the process. I mean, the intensity level goes beyond 10, and that puts us into Murch's first point of his criteria, emotion. There's a scene in the movie where Andrew is having dinner with his father and 4 other relatives. The relatives are polite but uninterested in Andrew's accomplishments as a drummer. Rather, they're excited about their son's Division III football career and their other son's academic achievements in Model UN. Instead of sitting on the sidelines as a spectator at this dinner, Andrew lays in on the arrogance, sarcasm, and insults, believing he's better than everyone at the table and sounding a lot like his abuser. In it, it feels like you're sitting at the table, reacting with fist-biting oohs and ahs, and no he didn't, and secondhand embarrassment. If you can lean into your audience's emotions with rhetoric that makes their hearts race or gives them goosebumps, then by all means, go for it. To advance the story, we learn that Andrew doesn't care that his career is isolating him from family and other loved ones because he thinks it's a necessary sacrifice to become the greatest jazz drummer of the 20th century. While it's great to evoke emotion and deliver some shock to what you're writing, make sure it's advancing the story. It's the difference between a jump scare and the lingering fear someone has after witnessing something frightening. You definitely want to make a lasting impression. Then let's jump into the rhythm. The rhythm of the dinner scene starts with longer takes and wider shots, establishing where the audience is at. The choice of dialogue gives us enough information about the other characters in relation to the protagonist and what we'll learn about him. As things get more intense, the edits become quicker, with all the characters in the scene appearing closer up. For writing, this is where you want to pay attention to sentence lengths, blocks of text, and pauses, and lean into your unique style of writing, whether that's one-worded sentences, repetition or motifs, bulleted-like points, things you've already said that need to be said again, or things you're not saying but may need to, or brain dump ramblings like this one. And that brings me to eye trace, which is literally what your eye is attracted to in the movies. For instance, an editor would consider what's in the frame to take away distractions, maybe punch in, or to accentuate a certain detail. If you're writing, then this may look like where the words physically look like. So are they different colors, font, and sizes? Do they cascade down the page vertically or horizontally? Are words bolded, italicized, and underlined? Are you writing in normal text, titles, subtitles, or headlines? Are you formatting in uppercase or lowercase or title case? Think of it like dressing your words for the red carpet in your particular style. Kind of cute, huh? And now that we've talked about the physical look of the words, that brings us to the dimension or transition, as I said, and how your audience processes those words. In Whiplash, the editing isn't too flashy, with most of the focus being on emotion, even in its transitions. After the dinner scene, it cuts to Andrew drumming away in a bright room. It's jarring but emotionally smooth as he keeps falling deeper into that isolation with his drums, leaning into his message about sacrificing everything to be the greatest. Transition in copy can be tricky as you have to consider who is looking and where their awareness lies. You have people who read every little detail, and then you have people who are skimming through. TLDR, right? So what I do is use headlines, 1, to reinforce my message in fewer words, and then H2 and H3 to explain that main message. Then I read every detail and skim to see if anything seems off, like something is missing or if it's evoking the wrong emotion. And then finally, we get to the 3-dimensionality, which is where your words live on the design of the space, whether that is a website or the parameters of a social media platform. Most copywriters collaborate on this, but if you have limitations on what to offer in the design, you can make a faux wireframe in like Google Docs to help you share ideas on how you visualize the spatial continuity of those words. And while we are on the topic of perfection, it is hard to achieve all of these things in every part of your copy. So remember Murch's hierarchy, placing emotion at the very top. The other things that follow are important, however, they can be compromised as long as emotion is always the first thing that you lead with. I hope you find the information in this video useful to help you thoughtfully edit for emotion, story, precision, rhythm, attraction, and dimension. That is all I have for now, but if there is something you'd like to add, let me know in the comments. I hope you had as much fun watching this video as I did making it. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!